Good afternoon, Abbotsford residents. I'm Mr. Pelican. I'm running to bring the RCMP into Abbotsford for forensic audits, the insider trading, and what was taking place in Abbotsford as elected officials under their oath, but to enrichinate themselves. I did a video the other day for you on Tracy Road. I've received lots of calls, lots of questions, and I'm going to try to answer them questions today. Insider trading sends you to jail. Period. You're gone to jail. They took advantage of the city for their richness and not govern over the residents. And they put the residents in harm's way. But under a private police department, it was easy to get these things done, and it was easy to control it and break the law. It was friends of friends, and we saw that. Henry Braun went into the city, so let me make it in layman's terms so David EBY can understand it. David EBY's a lawyer and he wants to understand it, so I want to make it. Henry went into the city and he pointed his son as proving officer on all job sites and bringing it. And anybody who said no to his son would be fired or be let go or be terminated, as if you're a city bureaucrat and you weren't working planning and engineer. He'd go, Daddy, and Daddy would come down and say, Rob Isaac, pack your bags. It's called blackjacking. And knowing it was his son, there was pressure treatment and everything else. But Henry also pointed his brothers into the police board, and he took city councils into his house that Darren Brown showed that should have had the RCMP for insider trading on job sites. Henry had the top MP of Abbotsford, Ed Fassett, the federal Conservatives, and Mike DeYoung, the former Attorney General. He strong-armed the Abbotsford newspaper to not write any stories because he pulled its advertising within the city and its ads the city takes, bankrupting them, starving them out. Then he needed the South Asians to be blocked and hold it, so he used Dave Sidhu. This was the big train tycoon. How far David EBY's involved, you got to look at the premiers and from the past since have been in trouble, police chiefs have been in trouble and everything. And to this campaign, I'm going to show you why I want the RCMP and what's good for my town. It led to threats on residents, it led to hit and runs, it led to my premier not sending the Attorney General in because Pam was pulling favors. Today I'm on Tracy Road. So let me tell you, when you're fighting for the mayorship, you got to bring the problems to the city, you got to bring it to its residents, and you got to show you why you're so much better to be the leader. Never mind to get the job, but be the leader and what you got to offer. Corky Neufeld is tied to my city councils, and you saw him trying to endorse Amric Moran and help Amric Moran. In return, will help you get re-elected. This is how these problems begin. And Corky now knows that he's going to shield the MLAs, and he's going to get return back from the city councils and his people that are involved with the city. That would be Ross, and that would be the city councils, and he would need them, knowing that the same. I need Dave Sidhu for the South Asian newspaper. I need Sandy Blue, she's on the police board. I need Ross Siemens, he's tied to all the Mennonites, and he would start working them groups. You know, when Ross ran as mayor, Ross cheated. He cheated very bad. Dave Sidhu ran Ross. He knew how to run him. Ross stayed at his gas station, and you can see it as much as I hit Ross Siemens. His wife doesn't even come out and say my husband's a good man and a good father. She can't stand up for what he's done, and no woman should. She should be asking for a separation, taking her assets. He covered and half of her assets and leaving and getting her family out in a mess. He covered an attempted murder. He damaged people's homes. He's rigged the elections, and he did this. He figures now he's going to rebrand himself by going to these groups and pulling money here and there and saying, look at what I've done for the farmers after 5 years. We're putting functions together and everything. It's rebranding himself after he did that. As much as I tell you Dave Sidhu is to blame, they used Dave Sidhu, and Dave Sidhu broke the law. Ross Siemens knew that the South Asians would not go with Henry Brown for a mayor, a South Asian mayor under Manji Sohi, so he needed to stop me from standing on the stage, destroying him, and that would take great toast to do what he did as the Chamber of Commerce and everybody that I've mentioned to help load Ross Siemens. Our boy's weak, but he's still our boy in the church. Then they would use the South Asians newspaper of Dave Sidhu's to pull all the votes and dump trucks of money as long as they could get Manji Sohi not to get Ross Siemens in trouble. And so they were going to play this big game to enrichinate themselves for themselves and not govern the city for the city. In return, they also used Dave Sidhu's dad, the chancellor of the UFB, which recognizes when young kids see a scandal, they face it out and they go, wow, and they put it all over social media. Andy Sidhu, his dad, made the threats thanks to the RCMP. We have him from UFB, not that I couldn't go on the canvas and all this stuff, and that he did it. When it went on social media, Andy Sidhu and his wife called me into his Capriccia newspaper and he said, my shithole son, Dave Sidhu, did this for his dad, for Ross Siemens. Using his dad's newspaper, blocking from the South Asians to see there's a mayor here for him, so they could load Ross Siemens. Perfect plan till Darren Brown coughed it up. Henry figured he had all the loose ends tied, but not his own son. And his own son walked all the information out of the city. So what are I doing on Tracy Road? I told you I'm going to work hard and I'm going to show you the issues for my farmers and everything. So in return to shut Dave Sidhu's mouth, you couldn't take a check and sign it out of the city. Ross couldn't go and say, Dave, I owe you, I'll give you half of my mayor's check every month out of my allowance, because he knows I'd be looking for that, and Ross is too greedy. He wouldn't do it that way. And you can see how greedy Ross is. Rather than working for the city, he's down at his gas station every time I do a video. Henry needs him in. He set up the official community plan. But I'm also, we got to make sure that the law doesn't take a back seat to your friendship. You take a back seat to the law. Your friendship takes a back seat to the law, and that's not what was taking place in Abbotsford. The law was taking the back seat. Not Mike DeYoung, not Ed Fast, not Ross Siemens, not Henry Brown, not the police chief Mike Sir, none of them. The law took a back seat, they took the front seat, and we need to make sure that changes. Pamela Alexis too. The law took the back seat, and Pamela Alexis' friendship took the front seat. We need to make sure that now you take a back seat. Your friendship takes a back seat to the law. So they needed to pay Dave Sidhu. We need to look how they were going to do it. This is what they did in layman's terms. Dave wants his money, and Andy wants his money. His life has been wrecked, and it's all over social media. I had 90% of the South Asians help me and corner Dave and Andy Sidhu and all this. This is working for your community and working hard and strong. This is why I want to give back to this community of what they did for me. And in return, they ordered Vitalis to buy this 5 acres up on Tracy Road, ag land, ALR land it's called. 5 acres, increase its carbon footprint from 21,000, which you're allowed, as I told you, I was in development with Wall Financial, Aquilini, Mike Dakota, and I told you Mike taught me so much when I built the North Shore Pier, so much. That's why I could catch these guys, and I knew that the leading politicians have to be bringing money in to get it back out the doors. Working with the biggest developers. That you increased it from 21,000 to 65,000, more than the property can handle. So let me tell you what my spies did. Now we wanted to see the environmental studies of everything, and the studies to get it here by Vitalis in the city, they can't do it. Ross is at his gas station laying on the floor again, sliding in the grease. Why do you need to see the environmental studies? All around this little square block is wells. You know what wells are? Drinking water. Clean drinking water from the aquifer that comes from the U.S., from Mount Baker, or from Aldergrove. Clean, healthy water. And every home is on wells. And most of them here are also on septics. Now Vitalis is going to bring this big contaminated site here, and didn't put it down at the U.S. border where you're allowed the trucks on the road. You've got the warehouse, the commercial business, and not only that, you got the water and septic. They didn't. So they're not going to tie it into the city sewer down at the work yards or down towards King Haven, because it costs Vitalis too much, and the more we can keep, the more we can share. That's how the plan's working for Big Vanderpoels now. So they're going to put sewer here for all this. And at first the city told me, my spies within the city told me that they were objected by the ALR, the head of the ALR, that said no. But somehow they must have went in with a bigger brown envelope and said, we really need it passed, and they did it. doing this all illegal, and this is what they did. So they went in layman's terms, and let me tell you, I need to pay Dave Sidhu and Andy Sidhu off. They wanted Vitalis to give Dave and Andy Sidhu $6 million, increasing the money and their richness more than the land's ever worth. And Vitalis, Vanderpool's ain't. But we got David Eby backing it up. If David Eby stands tall, that lawyer can work deals out of that premier's office, walk money out left, right, and center into municipalities that he can get it back. That big lawyer. Oh, everybody wants that big lawyer. That big lawyer can get deals done. Sooner or later, the RCMP are going to go into David Eby's house and raid him, because this is insider trading. Barrowtown money's missing, and you got mayors and candidates coming forward, and enough's enough for their cities. And this is what they need to do, especially when you got attempted murders. So they increased the value of the land to Vitalis rather than $400,000 an acre, $1 million plus an acre for 5 shithole little acres. And you got raspberries and blueberries and push them under. In return, we will get David Eby through PAM, which they lobbied a year in advance. They already had it all set up. The city spies showed me. In return, we'll get you to $30 million, and then you're out nothing. The taxpayers of BC will pay Dave Sidhu and Andy Sidhu off, and we'll get rid of them. And then we'll get you another $5 million from Community Futures, Nicole Reed, which is directly tied to us. And we'll get Dave Sidhu out of here. Now we're done with Dave Sidhu, and you could see that, and we'll rebrand Amrik Moran to fool the South Asians, dump truckloads of money and votes, and we'll go that way. Ross Siemens and Dave Sidhu are the best of friends. They're the best of friends. They're very best friends, and they're very best. And now, through the whole thing, if you go back, and you don't take my word, I want you to do a little bit of your field work, and you look at Dave Sidhu's webpage and Ross, and look at the newspaper. Ross Siemens never ever let Dave Sidhu take anything. He used Dave Lowens because Dave Sidhu was a screw up. And you could see him turning and backholing. The RCMP knew on a magnitude on this level, with the Abbotsford police covering attempted murder, the threats and blocking an election, they need to shut Dave and Andy Sidhu's mouth. And here's where it was. And now my city spies told me that there's a lot of people, Mr. Pelican, going to get sick there. Why? Environmental studies show that they want to put a septic here, and David Eby's directly doing this with Kelly Green, overriding it so the money stays in here. And that's not so that David Eby needs to elect an MLA here unless Corky's going to already cross the floor. And Corky Neufeld knows that they're all on wells here, but none of these MLAs were coming out to speak. Why ain't they coming out to speak? Perfect example is why I targeted Corky Neufeld and showed you. He's leaning on the city council that are his friends and Mayor Ross Siemens. You help me get in. I need that money next time is the term, and I need that. And not holding accountability. Now, here's a perfect ammo for the BC Conservatives against David Eby, and they should be asking Mr. Speaker, David Eby walked this money in through PAM. The land is all wrong. You got the U.S. down by the U.S. border on Farmer Road that allows commercial. It's got the water. It's tied to septic or to sewer, to the city sewer. And you're going to do this. And environmentally, it's going to seep. You got it? This piece of property, right smack at the center, and all this buildings around it, and everybody is on wells. Everybody. And you're going to leach this all in the ground through this gravel. You can see it. It's all crushed gravel. It's real crushed gravel stuff. It's not really condensated clay that it can't get through, and you're going to leak it. And they increased it. Was to pay Dave Sidhu off. Taking that money back, I made it clear to you, bringing the RCMP in insider trading. It's now pushed back by David Eby and the Attorney General. We can't do that. David Eby's scared. We can't do that. $76 million is missing in Barrowtown on Jake's contracting, hauling all that gravel in and sand in, then hauling it all out to empty it out. And David Eby said, probably, in my opinion, there's another $9 million. Make another excuse, haul it in, haul it out, haul it in, haul it out. And then you can see him a week later after the job was done illegally. Eby showed up at Barrowtown, probably, in my opinion, said, where's my money? I got to run another elections. The Conservatives are climbing. We need to elect MLAs. That's why I said Dallas Brody would be good to take Corky Neufeld out, and we need to do this. And Corky Neufeld went and promoted Amrik Moran. Corky Neufeld knew also a school trustee and that Amrik Moran went and got election signs printed, and he never ran before, and it says elect Amrik Moran. And he spent hundreds of dollars, maybe $30,000 if he went outside of Abbotsford, maybe 40 grand to get an advantage over all the other candidates. You can assume maybe 200,000 he's spent on signs because he's that desperate to win. You're not supposed to print a one. You're supposed to compensate all that into the budget when it's election time and how much you spent on signs and everything. But he's a lawyer at 25 years. He's a lawyer. And they were loading this. And they called themselves politicians, and they used the Abbotsford police to say we're going after gangs, meth, and all this. And they were buddies. This is why it's dangerous. This is why the city, Surrey mayor said it's very dangerous to have private police. And I'll tell you why. City of Surrey is the next city building for the next 50 years on buildings, and they'll need to get the police, the RCMP out of there so the premiers can walk insider trading and dirty deals through. So we got an environmental study that wasn't done, and we need to see that, and it was fudged. We got the top of the ag that originally, when they recognized this was going on septic, blocked it right away. Health Canada blocked it, which they should. Somehow, magically, all the nagging and a bigger envelope. There's no if, buts, or maybe. Because you blocked it the first way out because it's septic, it leaches into the wells. And, you know, the Farmer Road, the Mackenzie Bog guy said, you went after me. His people said, you went after me. This is what they're doing down there, and this is Dave Sidhu now. And then now we're going to got well water, and we're going to suck from their wells. So you're going to drive well in here, city waters, and nothing was ready. This was a payoff, a complete payoff. And you could see that David Eby knew he was going to get caught. So he said, Colin Watts, you need to go from Victoria into Abbotsford, and you need to take it over. And you need to do everything blocking criminal reports. You don't even drive out there. You need to do everything that you can possibly do with your police force, which are a bunch of broken down men, to cover it. And you could see Colin Watts on Canada Day all beat down. And I bet you, in my opinion, if you pulled his phone, there'd be more calls to David Eby than to his own wife or family. That's how much it shows that Colin Watts is doing damage control here to hold down criminal investigations, insider trading. Why? Insider trading sends you to jail the rest of your life. If Dave Sidhu is brought up on charges because he was the city council's and preferential treatment, used insider trading, he loaded Ross owed him and paid back. You think Ross is going to jail for the rest of his life? Or will there be a deal? The RCMP and the Crown will say, we'll let you have a lesser sentence, Ross. And who's Ross going to tell? He's going to tell on Pam. He's going to tell on Ed Fast. He's going to tell on Mike DeYoung. He's going to tell on the police chief. He's going to tell on the top to cut a deal. And this is what we have to do for our community and drive it right down. And this is why I told you if the RCMP were here, there'd be charges right now for insider trading. So now it's going to take a lot of work at the Premier's office and a lot of conniving that can he get the city of Abbotsford mayor already phone him, probably tell Eby, Corky's with me. You see, he's promoting and he's helping with me. This is where my MLAs need to be, and this is what needs to be done. So it'd be now for the BC Conservatives that want to gain traction on David Eby and One BC, saying Tracy Road was a payoff to Dave Sidhu and Andy Sidhu not to come forward to the authorities on all the insider trading Henry was doing with the province, the money that was dumped in by the province, the Barrowtown money and everything. Dave Sidhu would hold that chip unless he gets that money out of here. I'm live, Abbotsford, British Columbia, Tracy Road, and I want to make something clear. The city spies within the city made it clear that this is going on septic. On septic, not on sewer. Septic is a tank in the ground, and everybody's wells around here, and increased the carbon footprint from 21,000 to 65,000. And then the approval of the illegal money. The job was already a year chosen ahead of time. And what's it spell? It doesn't spell Ross Siemens too much as it spells David Eby taking money out of BC taxpayers to get it back through the back doors, because this one would be off the table by any good premier, and it's not. So we got to start looking harder at David Eby, what he's buying his families, what he's buying his kids, and where he's flying out of town when he starts leaving out of Canada or BC more and more. He's setting up maybe some Swiss bank accounts, in my opinion. Nobody looks away from this, especially attempted murders and threats. And now we got all Eby's employees here. Peter Sparanese, Abbotsford Police Board, all at the top. And when you pick them and send them in at the top and we're not getting them locally, somebody's doing protection and damage control. I'm live. Abbotsford, British Columbia, Tracy Road.